Hi everyone, thanks for joining today's call. So our agenda item, the first one is to do a retrospective review for the current sprint. As you guys can see from the screen, we closed out quite a few of tickets, and there are a few tickets on the pre-testing column. They are kind of like on hold for other reasons. For example, the Kenya EMR integration those tickets are on hold because the demo server is not ready to be up for testing. And then Sam is going to look at a few feedback that from last round of testing on the teleconsultation tickets. Those are the reasons why the tickets are still no update for those 6 tickets. And I see Simon did some pull request for a couple of tickets for the demographic update for handler and also APK, and he also made some changes on the demographic update forms so that it will require another round of testing today before he do the pull request. There's still some work need to be done for the CDM dispensary form. Simon, do you have questions for the CDM team in terms of the dispensary form?
No, I don't have questions for now.
Okay, cool. So for the health center form, it's continued to be on hold until we get the final form key from the form team. That's pretty much the tickets for this current sprint. So from looking back for this past spring, I would like to ask everyone what we have done right and what we could have improved so we can do better.
Thank you, Ada. I don't know if this is the right time for me to, about the health center form.
Go ahead.
I think we just had a question about basically the communication between the forms and concepts team, your team, the CDM team. What would be the most appropriate? Because I think since Friday, we haven't received the email that I sent out. We haven't received much comment on it. So we're not really sure how to proceed, who to talk to, and how that happens.
I think the team lead, Petrolina, was on leave, and that's probably one of the reasons no one respond. And I think she should be resuming after the exam, probably this week. If I would suggest, if you still haven't heard from the form team by tomorrow, probably it would be wise to contact Jonathan Dix, JJ,
Yes.
and then to ask him how to move forward. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Right now he is overseeing the form team as well.
Okay, thank you. And I think it's something that I think we were just doing an audit of the processes that for the CDM health center and dispensary form. And I think really one of the biggest delays is in terms of communication. It takes several days or even weeks to get a response from one team to the other one, and so and especially we're just using emails. So I think I was just thinking just to fast track this maybe in the next week or so that we have everything on board. We'd like to, that's why I was requesting who can I talk to directly to be able to move this forward.
Yeah, I think the first person to talk to definitely is Petrolina, since she is the form team lead. If I don't know when she's returning from leave, I will assume it's this week since the exam is over. If not, it would the next level would be Jonathan Dick. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Sure. So I think method of improving communication to avoid the lag time, right? So that is one of the area that things can be improved. Is there any other things that we have done right or things that we could have done better? If not, we can move to the next agenda item, which is the ticket grooming for the next sprint. Thanks for Lawrence. Thanks for filing these tickets on behalf of Nicholas. So maybe Nicholas or Lawrence, maybe you can walk us through on this CDM's CHW form user improvement so that is better from your perspective, and then we can ask some questions of clarifications.
I think Lawrence can take on that, and then maybe I could add anything as we move along.
Sure.
Okay, the first thing on the ticket, we were requesting to have, as it is right now, we have a question asking the source of the patient. So under that, we have options for PHCT, patients referred from PHCT, we have those through the clinic, and we also have MCH. But we realize, as the setting is right now, we have Mabaraza screenings, which is the biggest income point source for this for the CDM patients, and we're thinking it would be nice if we can list that as one of the options, because right now they're capturing it under other, and they have to retype that every other time they're sending in they're filling out the form. So
Okay.
just to make it easier for them.
So add one more referral options.
Option, yes.
So yeah, okay.
And then for the second point, I think this was just an oversight. We have a question that's asking the reason for follow-up for the patient, and we have not linked to care, and we have lost to follow-up, and the third option is other. So as the form is right now, it allows the user to select. The user can actually select not linked and lost to follow-up. But that's pretty much not the case. The patient cannot be a non-linker and lost to follow-up at the same time. They are one or the other at any given point. So
it's a single select for this question?
Yes, for this particular question.
Okay.
But other can be an additional select. Yes.
So yeah, I think for the second one, it's easy for us to make changes because it doesn't require any concept changes. For the first one, it would require the form and concept team to add another concept, as one of the options for the refer from questions. So you guys might want to go through the same process that about making changes to the form, send a formal request to the form and concept team, and then let them to add that one. So the last one, you mentioned that Dr. Curie will assist address the medication part of this form in case of any changes. So is there any changes need to be made for the medication part?
No, at least right now, no changes to the medication part.
Okay.
But I think I'll look at it again and just be sure before and just report back.
Okay, so so I was going to, because I thought it was, so when I look at this, I think it's like very minor changes for this CHW form, and that's why I would like to include in the new sprint. But looking at the first point, it required another team to create the concepts to in the dictionary before we can even do anything. So it's likely that I will move this one to the next sprint because I just don't want to put on the new sprints, and then when the first one is not ready. Is that okay for you guys?
Just asking, is there a way we can separate the two?
Say it one more time.
I'm just thinking, is there a way we can separate the two, because I think they're two unrelated components. Just address the second one as we wait to go through the whole process.
Yes, it's possible. We can. I think Lawrence can help to create like two subtickets for this one.
Yes.
And then we will assign the points.
Eda, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So Martin here. So Lawrence and Dr. Curie, thanks for bringing this up. We've struggled with this for a long time. But I keep saying we can't keep changing forms piecemeal. It's a very inefficient way of doing things. So my first question to the team was the final CDM CHW form approved, or are we still modifying the final CHW form?
Maybe Lawrence, you can comment on that before.
I think since we worked on the CHW form last year, it's not undergone any changes up to this point. Yeah, it's pretty much been a stable one.
Okay, fair enough. Now the second thing is, have these changes been shared with the PIs and have they been formally approved?
So I did an email to the group just to ask if they think the changes are worthwhile for approval before I do the ticket. And pretty
what
much
did they
the response was we can proceed with the changes, like the request.
And then the third question: are we sure after these changes, we won't be here 2 weeks or a month later saying we need more changes? Because we have to avoid having to change forms every few months. Okay, if you look at the AMPAT forms, they haven't been changed for a long, long time, and the process of changing forms actually is quite involved. And every time you have a change in elements, for example, a new concept, it just introduces a whole bunch of kind of delays to the process. So what I want to take you guys back is, can you confirm with us that these are the only changes on this form and have it signed off formally by the PI so that we are not back 2 or 3 weeks again with the changes?
So I think my comment on that is, I think since I came in, I'm just still learning the ropes, and I think I'll follow up that due and just report accordingly, and note that and I have noted the three comments that have been put forward, and I think that one of the biggest challenges has been, especially with the screening, is the Mabaraza component of screening was not initially there in the strategy that was put forward for the screenings. And I think after basically the screening that was after the HHA project started, I think that's the point at which the Mabaraza screening really came in, and that's at the point at which the changes were made. But prior to that, I'm not really conversant with what the thinking was before. But I think from this point to going forward, I think I fully understand that, and I'd take up that and see, and we'll discuss this and maybe get back to the team.
Yeah. So the idea is, I mean, the changes are good, don't get me wrong, but the idea is we want changes to be done once, comprehensive, and we can close a form completely for a duration of time. Otherwise we end up wasting a whole bunch of cycles redoing the same forms.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for reminding us, Martin. Yeah, so the reason Martin remind us because like the going back and forth communications and approval and reviewing process, all those things take so much time, as you mentioned, Dr. Curie earlier, that just getting some concepts added to the form can take quite a long time because of different factors. So that's the reason we don't want to have like minor changes. Even like sometimes I just like 1 or 2 minor changes, but the efforts and the wait time also involve quite big. Which is also not just great work for other parties, but also for you guys. Might feel a little bit frustrated in the sense that things could have moved much faster, but it doesn't. So we're trying to avoid all those like making tiny changes unless like it's part of like totally wrong or totally miss out and things like that. So since this is a very good suggestion of like those really make sense for all those changes, and especially the second one is a very, very minor change, not involving other party except us, but still we want to make sure that it's not affect empath as a whole. Sometimes when you just introduce one new concept, they take a little bit more time to try to scrutinize to make sure that this is really makes sense as a whole, not just for one program. That's another reason take a little bit more time to review sometimes.
Yeah, and the final thing is, the developer team also has to basically organize themselves and work on other activities that are more focused on the framework. And so if there's a scope of work that was clearly defined, saying program this form, every time you change, that kind of ends up being called a change in scope. And a lot of times, organizations will not be very willing to kind of be changing the scope every single time or every few days. And so just even to allow our team to focus on other things to improve the platform, it would be good to know that, for example, we're done with the CDM form and we can move on to something else. versus planning to move on to something else, and then 2 weeks later you're being told, hey, we need to reverse the same form again. But I hear you, Lawrence. I mean, if it's taken a while, you guys come up with the comprehensive changes and have it signed off by the PI. Let's do it once and be done with it. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So just let me update this one before. So I'm going to put this on hold and then remove from current springs because I just don't want to leave this under the springs, and then we don't have the until we have more information before we can work on it.
Okay.
Okay, so let's look at the next ticket, which is error resolution UIPs to load registration errors endlessly when the error is missing. Simon, do you want just to give us like a background what it is and solution how to address this?
Yeah, this one was an issue encountered by Lawrence some time back when he was trying to resolve errors. And the issue is that every error on error queue that's not a registration error has a link that would lead to opening the associated registration error. But you'll notice that not all errors on the error queue are associated with the registration problems. So in such a case where when there is no associated registration error and you click on the link, then the page would appear like it's loading, and it does that endlessly. And sometimes it's confusing to users. So on this ticket, what we want to do is to only display that link when there is a corresponding registration error on the queue.
Yeah, I noticed the same thing too. Like there is a registration error link on the non-registration message, even though there's no corresponding one. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, the solution here is to first of all check whether there's a corresponding registration error before displaying that link.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So is it still correct that it requires 3 story points for this ticket?
Yes, I think it would be 3.
Okay, cool. I think this would be really helpful once it's being implemented to avoid the continuous loading problem.
Mm.
So let's go to the next one. This is show message when searching for existing clients and internet connectivity is unstable or unavailable. Is Robai on?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, Robai. Do you want just to give us a background on this ticket?
Okay, we were requesting that when you're trying to search for a client and the internet connectivity is unstable, it should tell you that it should give you a message that check your internet connection and try again, instead of prompting a message no client matched your search. Because if you're given a message no client matched your search, user will be required to register the clients again.
This is like an enhancement to avoid the duplicate registration.
Yes.
Okay. Does it make sense for everyone? So Simon, probably you'll be best person to see how many story points for this ticket.
Yeah, I think 3 points.
Okay. Okay, cool. The next one is the cohort module. I know that it's a while back, Simon helped us with the expand the cohort module, but we haven't really used it for implementations because of other priorities. So I would like to revisit this again. First, there are some discussions that CDM team, Lawrence and I were discussing through email to clean up the existing cohorts and also some naming convention and things like that. And another thing is to actually applying all these changes, apply the expanded cohorts for implementations. So that more like for the implementation and testing, and then get back to Simon in case there's any changes for these tickets. That's pretty much for this ticket. Anyone have any other comments or questions? Okay. So let me just make sure this one. So this one doesn't have any story points, but I think maybe we can assign this to be 3 as well, because it's going to take quite, even 5, because it's going to take quite a bit of time and efforts to go back and forth to tweak to make sure that things are set up correctly, and also testing to confirm that. The last ticket is the 384. It's about that the UI doesn't have the value for additional new columns of provider locations. And so Simon, do you want to talk about this? I think it's like because like some old data in the database, and then once we load the new module, the data did not populate correctly, and then it caused problems.
Yeah, yeah. This is based on the data error data cleanup that I've been doing last December and this morning. Mm-hmm. And the reason is that the module, we did some changes to the module by introducing new columns. That's the provider, location, and form name, so that to improve on the user interface, to display more information to the user so that they can be able to categorize error data. But it happens that the first thing that I did resolve was to populate the tables with the form name so that it was able to process the data. And I noticed that if the form name is missing, then data remains on queue data waiting to be processed, and the model keeps throwing some error in the background. And then what we discussed last Friday is that when the provider is and location is not, when there's no information about the provider or the location on the error table, the errors are not displayed on the user interface. So the users might think they don't have any errors, while in real sense there are some errors in the back on the table that are waiting to be resolved. So this ticket therefore suggests that we look into the module and make it be able to display the errors when there is missing provider and location, and also it should be able to go ahead and process the data even if the form name is not missing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So is it clear for everyone what this ticket is for? So I think it's going to require have quite a bit of work. So 5 makes sense to me for this one.
Mm.
Okay. So those are the new tickets for the current sprint, and then we'll inherit a couple of tickets, existing tickets from the current sprint, since we could not close out those. Those pretty much the tickets for the new sprint. Any questions or comments? Okay. If not, let's move to the implementation update. So the first team is CDM. How's the error resolution going with CDM team?
Just want to thank Simon. I think he's been able to figure out the problem we ran into last week, where from the UI you have less number of errors, but on the back end, the tables record a higher number of forms.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's been resolved, and from the interface I can now see the forms, and I think we'll commence to resolve those. Probably hit 0 by the end of week.
Cool.
Yeah.
So did you get the new IDs from NPAP?
The new what?
The new patient universal IDs?
Yes. I've gotten those.
Awesome, thanks. So is there other updates you would like to share with the team in terms of CDM?
No. Just I think we're still experiencing a slow rollout for the screening form, and that's also being causing the delays leave schedules. But I think once that's sorted out by Deborah, the project manager, I think I'll move out there and try to hasten that process.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lawrence. Do you have other things to add, Dr. Curie?
No, I think that for just a question that I had for Lawrence this morning was, moving forward, how do we once the error queue, what Savai has just explained, once that is sorted, is there anything that we can do from the user perspective to reduce the number of forms that are going to the error queue, or number of entries that go to the error queue?
Yeah. So one of the reasons that the messages go to the error queue is because of the duplicate. So we suggest the users to search against the server if internet is available. That would reduce a lot of possibility of creating duplicate records, because for each duplicate, minimum two messages would go to the error queue, because the registration form and also the corresponding non-registration form. So the question back to your team is that, do you guys provide some sort of Wi-Fi or internet, maybe 3G to your users?
Yes, every device has a SIM card and connecting to Safaricom for internet connectivity. So it's just that the major challenge right now is weak signal strength in some areas, and that's the challenge that could probably arise.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I want to include the tickets that Robai created in terms of no client match, no match client versus internet connectivity is not very strong or not viable, so that it does not give the false impression to the users that they actually search the server, but then there's no record match this new client's profile. I hope that with that one, and also with you guys have more user training to encourage the users, if they search the existing, they cannot find the existing record on their local repo on their device, they should always search against the server in real time if connectivity is available. So that way you can avoid a lot of duplicates. I think with the enhancement, and also those validations and also processor, most of the errors are kind of related to the duplicate registrations. And we can also look at the existing non-registration issues, and then to categorize them. What are the common issues that why those messages go to the error queue, and then we can make enhancement for those as well.
Thank you for that, Ada. Just a question.
Go ahead.
Just as a way of just resolving this, is there a way, once a user has downloaded the cohort to their device, is there a way we could establish that at one particular point that all the cohorts in the device is actually has downloaded all patients from AMRS, and the two at that point have synced completely, so that at any point, even if the user is in the community and needs to use the device, if they can search that device at that particular time and establish that, and we're sure that all cohorts have actually been downloaded, so that anybody else or any AMRS ID that is not then present at that particular time in the device, that means that patient or client has never been registered and needs to be registered, then would need to sync eventually. Is it a possibility? Just ways of thinking, because as for the connectivity and Safaricom, I think that's an area that we don't have much control over.
Yeah, so this is part of the expanded cohorts that we mentioned. The tickets we would like to do a little more testing and also tweaking. So once that one is confirmed to be working, I think we need to look into the Delta. That means that to allow users to do on-demand synchronization to get the difference of the client's information for the particular cohorts they select. So I can see this as like two parts. The first part, we want to make sure that the expanded cohorts is working as we expect it's supposed to. And then the second part is we need to work on the delta of getting additional clients, or the difference of the client's information for a particular cohort. So the second part, we haven't even talked about the design yet, but this is something that we would like to do after the first ticket is working.
Okay, thank you.
So, but even we make the new delta, the cohorts delta synchronization working, still require users to do like on-demand synchronization request. If not, it would not automatically sync, unless you guys think that is something that you would like. The reason we don't want, I think maybe it can be like options or something like that under the settings to allow the user to decide whether it's real-time synchronization for the cohort or
Era, I didn't get the last part of your explanation.
Did we lose Eda?
I think so.
Yeah, let's give her a second to see if she gets back.
Hello, are you guys there?
Yes, Eda, we lost you for a moment.
Okay, sorry. So I was just saying that maybe it would be good for us to include this as the agenda item for this Friday for like a bigger discussions, because a lot of these things sounds very simple, but it involves quite a bit of consideration. So I think it's good for us to have a discussions maybe this Friday and as well as like next Monday before we can even write down the specification how to move forward.
Okay, thank you. But just before that, I didn't get the last part of your initial explanation. I was following, and then you.
Okay, so let's say that I just just first thing come in my mind about all this expanded cohorts model is that someone, for example, like in order to be eligible for this cohort definition, someone has like a screening, let's say like have like CDM screening form done, and then the exclusion criteria is say, oh, if the let's say that if this patient is not a true case of diabetes, it should be excluded later on. So maybe at first this client would go into this cohort definition because there was a CDM screening form was done. Later on, maybe there's some other data point to say that actually this client is not a true diabetes patient, so it should be excluded out. So this client would go in at one point and then excluded from this cohort at one point. And if we have this automatic synchronization for the cohort delta, it might also create some confusion for the user, saying that, hey, I swear I have this client on my device at one point, and now after, it just disappeared. And things like a little bit bigger discussions, how you guys want to do the cohort definition synchronization to a device. Do you want to download all the clients who has ever been eligible at any point, or you only want to synchronize the clients that who is active, or at this point when you synchronize to your device that you only want that subset, because they are different?
Thank you for that. I think it's I haven't really thought about it in that particular way, because what I was just thinking of those clients who are active within the clinic at that particular point, those who are confirmed to have either diabetes or hypertension, and would then be coming for subsequent clinics, because I think that's usually the biggest challenge with the users. Having been to the field, to the health centers and the dispensaries, you find patients who are coming back for review, but when you search them, due to a lapse, we do not get them when we search in the MRS at real time. We're not able to do that because of internet connectivity. So how do we then, at that particular point, establish whether this client has ever been seen before in that health center, or whether and then how do we then capture them? Do we just register them anew, or do we just use paper forms, then later come back to MRS and confirm? That's usually the challenge that we're facing, and that's why I was thinking, I was just suggesting of the suggestion that I just made. But then the aspect that you've just introduced in, then we'd need to think, sit down and think which ones would be feasible.
So I think we try to consider more scenarios so that our design would work for, if not for working for every program, at least like for most programs or most scenarios, so that they can customize to do whatever is best for their implementations. It's not just sometimes not like we don't want to create something quickly, but by creating something quickly actually can cost more time and efforts later on, try to undo it, and also we ignore some of the other implementation needs. Like it's great that you guys continue to share your feedback with us so that we understand your settings and your needs. Please continue to share those with us. At the same time, we also want to consider other scenarios or other programs that their needs might be in future, so that when that comes, they can still customize the way that best fits for them. So I think, not just about real-time synchronization for the cohort delta or on demand, but also whether this synchronization should include any client eligible at any point ever, or as of that point when you do the synchronizations. So there's a little bit more discussion for that. It's not just like come out of my mind without thinking through, or idea, like there's quite a bit of things we need to consider. And I hope that everyone can take a little bit time after the call and think through the possible scenarios that you guys might need, and then we can gather all those information and discuss, try to just have like a brainstorming on this Friday call.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Awesome, thanks. I don't see Derek is on, so maybe we can skip the LAC update unless anyone, one of you have updates for that, for LAC? Okay. How about oncology? Are they still? Are you guys? So Simon and Roba, are you guys still trying to get a hold with the oncology program? Because I know there's a change of personnel from the program as well.
Yeah. Regarding the error queue, I'm still yet to work with Kipto to have it resolved. But on other things, on maybe how they are using mUzima currently or whether they're using it, I think it's something that we were not yet established. We haven't talked to them yet.
Okay.
Yeah, and we were thinking maybe Eda, you could help us on that part.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So I just briefed Martin a little bit about that one. So I'm going to wait for the new program manager to be on board first and try to have a call with him just to give him some background, who we are, what we've been doing with oncology program and things like that before we can find a solution from them, how to move forward for them to use to roll out the mUzima forms for oncology programs.
Cool.
Yeah, because I think the new program manager just started this week.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the items on my agenda. I know that Martin mentioned about the displaying different languages for the app. Simon did some searches, research on that. And Simon, do you just want to give a brief update what you have found for the team? Hey, Simon?
Sorry, Eda, I think I lost you.
Okay. It's about the displaying other languages on the app rather than English.
Yeah, I found that is possible, and it is not so much work for looking at the way the app is already designed, because all the messages and the information currently displayed in English is coded in a separate file, and for us to support a new language, it would be as easy as creating a new file for the respective language and doing a translation of each of the messages. So I think if we identify maybe the first languages we want to support, we shall need to do a translation of each messages and have it placed in the app. So I already did a trial, and I was able to do it in an easy way. And how it works is that once we translate the messages and incorporate in the app, when the user switches languages from the Android settings, then the application would choose the respective language depending on what has been set up in the settings. And if the language that has been set up in Android is not, there's no corresponding file within our application, then the application will take the default language, which to us is English.
So is there other work need to be done for the file to include different languages, or is something that we can is available through Android? Let's say that Swahili, let's say that, do we need to prepare a file of Swahili labels, terms, and things like that?
Yes, within the app, we shall need to have a file for Swahili and translate each of the labels and information that we want presented in Swahili. I mean, whatever we present in English, we shall need to have a corresponding file with all the messages now translated to Swahili. And that would apply to any other language you would want to support.
Okay, thanks. So Martin, do you In terms of priority and needs, do you want us to start consider on the maybe discussions and design on that, and we can narrow down to specific, maybe a few languages for mapping and things like that? Do you have like a timeline or deadline that we need to work on?
Yeah, no, thanks, Simon. And so for now, it was more of a design kind of issue. And so we don't have any specific timeline or deadline. So unless we, so it's not very on the priority list right now. It's just, I just wondered what you to take in case people start asking us.
Okay, cool. Okay, get it.
Okay.
Awesome. So one last thing is that is for the mUzima Jira, and we have finished all the plugin upgrade and all the modules upgrade. The only thing we did not upgrade is to upgrade to Jira 7 because it have a lot of big design changes, because they try to include some of the plugin as a core, or and some of the core functionality to be plugged in. Since it's going to be a massive change, we decided not to migrate to upgrade to Jira 7. But for the license renewal and the plugin upgrades, those have been done already. And we also fixed some internal issues for the database corruptions, and things will be working well now. If you find there's any issue, just let us know, and we'll try to address them. And previously, some of the users cannot tag other users on tickets. That's one should be fixed as well. If you find otherwise, let me know. Thank you, guys. Those are the other business that I have. Anyone have other questions or comments that they would like to share?
Ada, just one more procedural thing.
Sure.
It seems like we can do a little bit better in terms of how we clean things up before we upgrade the modules. So, for example, on the error resolution side, you know, it would make sense to have all the errors resolved before we update the module, for example, because otherwise we end up just having to chase our tails pretty much. Anyway, I wonder if we can just, you know, as part of the implementers, you know, thinking of mechanisms to make sure things are cleaned up before you upgrade the modules, because it can cause some unnecessary conflicts.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Okay.
So I think the reason is the structure change, the table change, that contributes to that. So maybe we should have some checklist on certain changes. We need to be more prepared as we do the upgrade. Yeah.
Yes. So whether it needs to be done before the upgrade or whether it can be programmatically done, we just have to think about a better mechanism to do that.
Yeah, I think actually what happened was we thought that after the we knew that the table structure changed. We thought that once we upload the new version of the modules and requeue all those messages, it would got split into the right spot, and I think that part was missing. Probably just reprocessing those old messages. So that's the reason. Yeah. So this is like a lessons learned, as you point out, that to avoid all these unnecessary issues. Yeah.
Okay.
Sure. Thanks. Okay. Anyone? Awesome. So if not, we can end our call. Thank you, everyone. We will talk again on Friday.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.